America is not a country anymore. It is a business model, and the product is you. There are nearly 2 million people in cages in this country, the highest incarceration rate of any democracy on earth. 608 people per 100,000, 8 times the rate of Germany, 5 times Canada, more than quadruple what it was in 1970. Not because crime is worse. Crime is historically low. Because a body in a cage is a revenue stream. 2/3 of private prison contracts have lockup quotas, guaranteed occupancy clauses. The contract literally requires a certain number of prisoners. CoreCivic made over $2 billion last year. Geo Group made $2.6 billion. They spend millions on political donations to keep the laws exactly where they are. Prisoners earn an average of 52 cents an hour. The 13th Amendment made an exception for people convicted of crimes. Slavery is still legal in America. You just have to call it incarceration. But the cage is just the end of the pipeline. The whole system is designed to feed it. Police departments fund themselves through asset forfeiture. They take your cash, your car, your house, without ever charging you with a crime. Over $3 billion seized this way since 2000. The burden is on you to prove your own property is innocent. That is not justice. That is a shakedown with a badge. Courts are profit centers too. If you cannot afford a lawyer, you get a public defender carrying 400 cases. You take a plea deal because fighting it means missing work. Missing work means losing your job. Losing your job means losing your housing. The system is not designed to find the truth. It is designed to process you. Then the fees start. Court fees, public defender fees, probation fees, electronic monitoring fees. 48 states charge you for your own jail cell. You can be locked up for being too poor to pay off your debt to the state. That is not a prison system. That is a debt collection agency with walls. And the surveillance network is the toll booth. 90,000 automated cameras across 49 states. 20 billion license plates scanned every month. The company that runs them is worth $7.5 billion, backed by venture capital firms that expect a return. Every plate you drive is a data point. Every data point is a product. They sell access to federal law enforcement, to the ATF, to the Drug Enforcement Administration, the same government that claims it cannot find people living openly in this country. They found Osama bin Laden in a hole in the mountains of Pakistan. They can find anyone they want to find. The question is who they point the system at. A Texas sheriff searched 83,000 cameras for a woman who had an abortion. The CEO called it everything working as it should be. The National Security Agency built a $1.5 billion data center in Utah. It stores exabytes of your calls, emails, text messages. They intercept 1.7 billion communications every day. Palantir landed a $10 billion Army contract. The infrastructure that watches you is now bigger than the infrastructure that powers you. Now consider how you arrive at their doorstep. 6.7 million manufacturing jobs have disappeared since 1979. 3.7 million of those went to China alone. But it is not just the jobs that left. They also brought people here. A population that cannot vote, cannot protest, cannot demand higher pay. Vulnerable workers willing to take what you will not. That is not a broken immigration system. That is a wage suppression strategy. You compete against people who cannot say no. The towns that got gutted are the same towns with the highest incarceration rates. In Louisiana, the prison rate passes 1,000 per 100,000. Higher than any country in the world except the one that owns the prisons. Productivity rose 74% since the 70s. Worker pay rose 9%. CEO pay rose 185%. You are the first generation in American history expected to do worse than your parents. A house cost 3 times the median income in 1980. Now it costs 6. Health insurance has tripled. College tuition is up 800%. Pensions are gone, replaced by a 401k you cannot afford to fund. 40% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency. The American dream has been replaced by a payment plan, so both parents work, sometimes 2 jobs each, and the kids get an iPad, handed a glowing screen at age 2 so the parents can survive their shift. Tech companies spend billions engineering addiction into children. They call it engagement. Everyone else calls it a pacifier, a generation raised by algorithms instead of parents. Conditioned to stare at a screen and consume, trained to sit still and take orders, which is exactly what you need when the destination is a cage. The national debt is $39 trillion, over $1 trillion a year just in interest. The money that could rebuild the country goes to bondholders instead. 48 states strip your right to vote if you get convicted. 4 million Americans cannot vote because of a system they sold as law and order. They do not need more police. They need you poor. Broke people cannot fight back. Broke people cannot afford lawyers. Broke people cannot miss work to sit in a courtroom. Poverty is not a circumstance. It is a precondition for the machine to run. The cameras keep multiplying. The data centers keep expanding. The prisons keep filling. The parents are too exhausted to notice. The kids are too distracted to care. When every street has a camera, and every car is tracked, and every call is stored. When your poverty is your crime, and your crime is your sentence, you are not living in a country. You are living in a facility, and they are still building the walls.